vehicles and institutional vehicles on the road, because you have an average of about 300,000 vehicles. I don't know how many you have in Kampala city. And then you have the few buses that still drive through the city center, and other bigger lorries and other stuff. If you add your 522 buses, you have possibly 40,000 borders on the street. You're actually not helping the situation. You are adding to the congestion and the confusion. The city has the streets of the city have been mortgaged to multiplex.
Yeah.
So instead of having 4 lanes on a road, you have 2 lanes.
Yes.
The third lane has been, the other 2 lanes have been mortgaged by Kampala City Council, which is making money and not helping in the congestion. So how are you going to help?
No, I think for an ordinary person, that's how it looks, but it's in a different one. With our research and the research done with all other cities, we are recently started introducing buses, all those who have buses. By introducing these units, I can try to give you the corridor. Remember, for us, we awarded only 2 zones. On those 2 zones,
how many zones?
There are 4. The Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area was divided into 4 zones, and it was through PU, the means of finance. I think because of monopoly issue, you can bid for all, but you can't be awarded for 2. That's why you see the current 2 zones, northern route and southern. No one had the capacity, and the routes are there, and I think that's where the government and KCC should focus to see that as fast as possible they get an operator on those zones. But what will happen once the frequency is okay, the fare is okay, and service is okay? Those are the principles of a successful urban public transport. If all those are in place, you'll find that on the routes we're operating, I've told you about the frequency issues, which is the most concern with the people and the fare structures. 95% of the 14-seaters want to be on the routes which we're operating in. Remember, for us, we're operating on the main routes. Yeah, in the feeder routes, there will be 14-seaters. Then for the car owners, I think you'll even ask your staff here.
The MICA.
The MICA. You ask your staff here at the radio stations if they have a reliable bus transport system. Will they leave their cars at home? We strongly believe in a very short time, 50 to 60% of the current car users will park their cars and board these buses. And so the issue of whether we'll overcompact, will definitely relieve on those corridors which we'll be operating on.
You said you have invested a lot of time trying to study urban transportation across the world. From the buses, what other direction can Kampala, whose streets cannot be expanded, what will the situation be like after 10 years? Because your contract is 5 years. You have 2 zones that haven't been given out as yet. Another company possibly will take the other 2 zones, and then you'll have 1,000+ buses on these narrow streets. In this crowded city, life will become again difficult, wouldn't it?
No, what happened? You see that the city is growing very, very fast, and you know, in Kampala is the greater Kampala is full. 95% we are all in informal informal economy. That what will happen? For example, in 5 years, KCCA will look at the contract, whether we performed, then they renew it.
Or cancel it?
Or cancel it. That's possible. But I think the government has got also long term. The government is long term, which is good if they can manage to get the funds. Government long term, this is 8, 9 to 10 years. They are trying to introduce what's now currently being floated around the world, the BRT. The BRT is an infrastructure project, whereby the government bus rapid, whereby the government comes and invests money into the infrastructure and give it to the operators like Pioneer Easy Bus to operate buses. With this infrastructure, they widen the roads, they make special corridors exactly for buses. Currently, the government, I think they are on the final stage of feasibility study, and the estimate came up quite a little bit high. Per kilometer will cost you like $80 million. So,
but they have money from the World Bank.
You can look at the delays where they are at the moment. But I strongly believe if they focus on it, 7, 8 years, where will I sit? I will see Pioneer moving some of their current buses into the feeder roads or up country and joining the BRT scheme in 8, 9, 10 years, because I strongly believe by that time we'll have...
Is it possible for these streets of Kampala to be expanded? What would it take?
That's government is a issue. I strongly believe they'll have a challenge. Even now they are running late.
No, but you're speaking as a Ugandan who's been observing the challenges of urban transportation, and you've thought of a business idea,
Yes.
but more importantly, of trying
For-
to ease the life of people who are who live and operate in this country.
for our current operations, for our current buses, by having a bus lane, as you remember, those used to be the current multiplex used to be moving flow. Ours will operate well without adding any, or without widening the road. For BRT, because the buses are bigger and longer, you can't operate on the current roads.
So what would be required?
My gut feeling tells me that once we run well the current buses which Pioneer is introducing, maybe the other two zones also they award them to different companies. My gut feel tells me that the government will stick there for quite a long time.
What went wrong with Utoda? When it came in, people believed that it was providing some service. What went wrong with Freeline?
I told you, it's a, first of all, Freeline, I tell you personally, it was my vision to move into the ordinary operation of taxis, to look at the bigger picture, which is buses, which has taken a very long time. But with Utoda, not even Utoda, let me talk about taxi business. It's the business model which went wrong, not the personalities, the business model. The way they introduced this tendering and collecting money on behalf of local authority, that business model is what caused the problem. For example, I can give you, I can analyze it for you. If it was Freeline running Kampala district, they give you a contract to collect 200 million on behalf of KCCA. You, where you earn money is more, the more taxes on the road, the more money you earn. So the management of the taxi operator, they didn't look so much in the interest of a taxi owner, because those are the people who invest into what? Into the taxi operation. That's why they didn't do the demand analysis. For I can give you if Gaba Road definitely, if the demand would have been that you need 80 taxis to generate like 100,000 for Senoga, who is a taxi owner, currently you have 300, because the one who is managing the current taxi operation, he only adds on the more taxis on the road, the better. So eventually they open it up, and they were caught up in the game that everyone who buys the taxis will just push it in Kampala. Eventually the city become decongested. The guy who manages
becomes congested.
Yeah, the guy they will make money. The taxi owners will be earning less and less. Currently, taxi costs you, if you get from the bond now, around 35 million. But I think only Mbari, which will give you 80,000 a day, these ordinary ones, they will give you 50,000 per day. That's why you see that like the middle class, they started jumping out from this industry. It's the business model which caused the problem. Because KCCA, by giving Senoga a contract to collect on their behalf, me where I earn is the more taxes, the more taxes on the road.
You spread you spread the investment so that you get more money.
But then why didn't KCC come in to regulate that?
Those are the issues, the challenge with which I think the government had. I'm just looking on our scenario here. It took 3 years, moving offices, meetings, agree on the tender document, advertise, interministerial, 3 years, procurement process. So I think that's a
beyond the red tape. Uganda's challenge has been regulators, weaker regulators than the regulated. Pioneer EasyBus could, after 2 years, become so big, so profitable, buy into the political patronage network, and KCC will fail to manage you.
No, I think our business model is totally different. First of all, we will never fall into the trap of decongesting the city. By decongesting, we don't make money. That's one. So the basic principle, okay. Then I think on the vision with the experience which has happened all over the world in private, big, urban public transports, our vision is very simple. Run the company well, put up the corporate governance. Of course, people who are brave to really push up the project and turn it into reality. Then go for IPO, float it, all Ugandans own it. That's the vision.
And paint the buses yellow, blue, or red, whatever the color might be, and offer them when there is a campaign season. And then you delivering
MTN colors and I don't know, Airtel. Apart from South Africa, which African city you think has a good mass transit system?
Or as I tell people, and they get surprised. I think South Africa, they have the money, but the system is very good. I think the city which had
I was there recently, and the taxi operators there now want to go into aviation business.
Yeah.
They want to keep the taxi business by airplane.
by airplane.
Uh-huh.
I think the best system I've looked at, those ways also still the bad days, was Abidjan. Now, Ivory Coast. They had terrible old buses. They were terrible old buses, yeah. They had, I think, there were a lot of issues, yeah. But the system was very good. They had a very old Renault bus. I think they get it from France, second. But the operation, you could see that if this system had enough money, could run well. I think that's the best.
Mr. Senoga, isn't that also tied to the infrastructure? Bijan had some of the best.
Exactly.
One of the best cities.
Yeah.
Excellent roads. Isn't it tied to that? When then you come to our Kampala with these messy roads. Because I saw in Accra the other day they're experimenting with this, but also because they have worked on their roads and they're continuing to work on it. If you don't work on these roads, this bus thing.
I think for the
could you come back to that after short commercial break? Let's keep the time and come back to the discussion.
It's live. It's